you want justice, you've come to the wrong place.
I disagree. I've come to the perfect place. I want to bring those who have wronged me to justice, and all those who have wronged me are right here.
What's up guys, this is Zane and today we're going to look at the different fighting styles of the warriors in Westeros. This series is going to have several videos, but today we're going to look at the most infamous warrior in Game of Thrones, besides the Mountain and the Hound. Prince Oberyn Martell, notoriously known as the Red Viper. Prince Oberyn Martell is by far one of the most loved characters in Game of Thrones. Before his skull was crushed by the Mountain, he was considered one of the most powerful fighters alive in Westeros. But the Viper had more to him. And despite HBO not showing us that, don't get me wrong, they did a great job with Pedro Pascal. I was very happy with that. But despite that, we're going to explore the character into more depth today. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Prince Oberyn can't rely on his brute force like the Mountain does, and his swordsmanship doesn't rank as high as the other known swordsmen in the realm. If you were a commoner in Westeros, and you weren't considered a fighter, in the primitive world of Game of Thrones, your chances of success, even survival, is directly halted. Getting knighted is the closest rank to nobility that a commoner can reach. Because Oberyn isn't big in size, nor is he as good at using a sword compared to, let's say, Barristan Selmy and Jaime Lannister. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he couldn't go and use another weapon. Other weapons are always used in Westeros.
Swords, lances, teeth, nails, choose your weapons.
Here's the thing, fat boy.
But his upbringing in House Martell and the fact that he grew away from the, let's call it, mainstream fighters really introduced him to the world outside Westeros. Oberyn was sent into quote-unquote temporary exile from Dorne for indirectly killing Lord Edgar of House Ironwood with a poisonous blade. This gave Oberyn the edge he had in the time of the show. His exile indirectly built his education. He studied at the Citadel with the rest of the maesters and even forged 6 links of a chain. He completed about half of his studies to become a maester, but eventually grew bored and continued his education traveling through the free cities. That's where he was able to learn extensively about poisons, and some even say the darker arts. Not to mention, Oberyn didn't just grow more knowledgeable with the expertise in the art of poison. His fighting background was in Essos. Like I said earlier, Prince Oberyn wasn't one of those warriors that participated in the wars of Westeros, fighting other houses for power or revenge or glory or money. In fact, the experience I'm about to mention contributes to why I imagine Oberyn being fundamentally dangerous on the battlefield. Remember these guys?
Allow me to present the captains of the Second Sons. Miro Bravos, Prendal Negesen, and
Prince Oberyn actually fought with them in the disputed lands of Essos for several years. He was part of the Second Sons and learned how to battle as a sellsword in cities like Lys, Volantis, Yunkai, and Meereen. Not to mention, the show suggests that Oberyn spent a few years in the fighting pits in the cities of Slaver's Bay. Let me just remind you that these fighting pits are the very same pits that nearly got Ser Jorah Mormont killed and that Daario Naharis, another deadly warrior, grew up in. Survival and victory is ultimately difficult there, and his experience doesn't even end here. Oberyn actually founded his own sellsword company, his version of the Second Sons and the Brave Companions. The reason why I'm mentioning all of this is because not only does the Red Viper's experience make him a very cultured and smart character in the show, he's learned how to fight on the streets in the most harsh, tough, and even deadly conditions. Through that, Oberyn became aware of his advantages. From then on, he wasn't going to fight in heavy armor or with a heavy double-handed sword, but really find his physical edge. That's what makes him an exceptional fighter today. His speed and skill with both a spear and a light sword are renowned in the lore. Oberyn usually wears very light armor with a clear, visible helmet, and wields a light spear with a heavy poisonous blade. In the books, he often carries a shield as well, but during the trial, his outfit is as the same as in the show. All of this gets me to this point. The way Oberyn plays the game is through practicality, and that's where all his power is. When other people taunt or provoke him, instead of reacting in spite and without thinking, The Red Viper lives up to his name and remains calm, waits for the perfect moment to strike, and knocks his opponent down. He remains practical. Whatever the situation deems, Oberyn finds what armor, weapon, and weaknesses the opponent has to optimize his chances of victory. During the trial by combat against Ser Gregor Clegane, Oberyn identifies his speed and impulse to move around as the mountain's biggest disadvantage. He slowed him down, and until the very end, the battle seemed like a piece of cake to him. He even drank before the fight. He was confident, a bit too confident, but confident nonetheless. We see a very oriental style of fighting here, a fighting style Oberyn most likely learned in the Free Cities. Pedro Pascal, the actor who portrays Oberyn, said he needed to learn about 50 moves of wushu, a Chinese martial art, to be able to move and fight around like that. But another example of practicality was during his little confrontation in episode 1 of season 4 in Littlefinger's brothel.
Do you know why all the world hates a Lannister? You think your gold and your lions and your gold lions make you better than everyone. May I tell you a secret? You're not a golden lion. You're just a pink little man who's far too slow on the draw. Long sword is a bad option in close quarters. When I pull my blade, your friend starts bleeding quite a lot, I'm afraid. So many veins in the wrist. He'll live if you get him help straight away.
Oberyn quickly identified the Lannister soldier's weakness, pulling out a long sword in a closed area, to the prince's quick withdrawal of a small knife. That's how his days in the Citadel helped him. For instance, knowing the fatal spots of the human anatomy, knowing which part of the body will directly kill the opponent, or which poison would take the longest to torture his opponent. It wasn't until the very end of the trial that Oberyn's over-ambitious nature and his hatred of the people who killed his sister got in the way of killing the most feared man alive. In other circumstances, it would have been rather simple, but Oberyn's overconfidence was his Achilles heel. Despite that one flaw, no one can deny that Oberyn wasn't the most cultured, orientally skilled, and knowledgeable fighter in Westeros. His culture and knowledge gave him his insane talent at fighting and his edge in battles. And his ultimate execution of practicality, whether in conflict, power play, or just taunting, would make him the deadliest character in Game of Thrones. So guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. This is going to be a serious video, so drop a comment below on who you think I should profile next. I'd love to hear your opinion and take on this video. Do you think Oberyn was the most deadly warrior in Westeros? Obviously guys, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. We're trying to post content as much as possible. Trying to. But be sure to subscribe because it's free. Who cares? Anyways, have a great day guys. See you.